Hello everyone, Mia here from Resonance Astrology, and welcome back to another weekly overview where we look at the astrology of the week ahead, what the cosmos is doing, what the stars are doing from Monday, October 27th till Sunday, November 2nd of 2025. And this week feels almost a bit deceptively quiet. There isn't really a lot going on transit-wise, or at least it feels pretty simple, but under the surface, I do think there's a lot of depth and movement that is going on. I mean, it is Scorpio season after all, and I think the quote or the sentence, "still waters runs deep," feels very fitting for this week. And not only is it Scorpio season, meaning that the sun is in the sign of Scorpio, we still have Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, although not so long anymore. But we will get Mercury back due to the retrograde that is happening next week, by the way. And we also still have Mars in Scorpio this week around. So even if the transits aren't too chaotic this week, there is a lot happening internally. I think Scorpio as a sign has and especially when Scorpio season rolls around, I feel like every year it invites us to really go deep. From the Northern Hemisphere perspective, we're in the dark of the dark part of the year, and it's fixed. You know, all the fixed signs are in the middle of all the seasons, kind of really highlighting what the seasons usually are about and kind of peaking it, so to say. And Scorpio being the middle of autumn, when it's really the darkest time, feels not only symbolic, but very real in our own lives around what is going on. And Scorpio also rules the organs that have to do with letting things out. You know, they're down here. The extremities. Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I said that word right in English. But, you know, around the genital area. But it's not just the genitals. It's also the organs that push out things. So Scorpio has a lot to do with letting go. And of course, it's a Mars-ruled sign. Mars has a lot to do with severing, cutting away, trimming, moving away from something. So when Scorpio season rolls around, there is a lot of question in the air about what do we need to let go? What do we need to compost, you know, from our own lives, from our energies? So, yes. On top of that, you know, Neptune is also back into Pisces. I'm really wondering how you guys are feeling with that. In my experience, or what I have been feeling last week, the ingress was very quiet, and now I'm really feeling Neptune being back into Pisces. It almost feels like this strange nostalgic reunion that we are getting. So I'm really curious how you guys are feeling and if you notice that energy shift. Because for me, I feel like things are kind of blurry again, and while I was really happy initially, now personally I'm like, gosh, I can't wait for Neptune to move back into Aries again. There are definitely old dreams are resurfacing, people are resurfacing, dreams are getting much more intense. When Neptune is in the realm of Pisces, I feel like dreams are at an all-time high, and I think a lot of what is coming up through our dreams. Also because there is a lot of water energy currently in the air, lots of planets in Cancer and Pisces and in Scorpio right now. We're kind of having a grand water trine that has a lot to do with our emotional bodies, our sensory bodies. And a lot of what happens in the dream realm is we are digesting tidbits and pieces that happened throughout the day, and now basically releasing it or reliving it, or however the body, you know, and our psyche is trying to cope with everything, right? Sometimes dreams really are not that deep, sometimes they are, but in my experience, you kind of feel that. I don't know how it is with you guys, and you can totally feel free to type it down in the comment. For me, I usually can feel that my dreams are an agglomeration of things that happened in the past few days or even today, or just random thoughts I had. But if a dream is really deep and there's more to it, I wake up with this feeling of there was something that wanted to be said through that dream. So there is a difference, to be completely honest. Yes, but I don't want to make this video about dreams at all. It is a deeply emotional, reflective kind of week, and really things like what is going on beneath the surface. So we do start off Monday, October 27th, with the moon still being in the sign of Capricorn, good old structured moon. It feels a bit like a sobering up start. And then really Tuesday, Wednesday, the energy picks up. These are the most eventful days for this week at least. We have on Tuesday, October 28th, Mars trining Jupiter. I feel like this is one of the most supportive aspects this week. Mars in Scorpio is in its domicile. Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer. Trine is a very supportive aspect. So this is about decisive and aligned action, letting go with integrity, and also setting good boundaries that come from self-respect rather than from fear. And remember here that boundaries aren't about controlling others. They're about knowing what you do when these lines are crossed. And I do think this is a big moment of support that we have here. Jupiter is all about our belief systems and how we view the world, like how we get up in the morning and how we approach life, so to say, which has a lot to do with our internal structures. And then Mars comes in and chimes in, and they form this lovely trine. And it feels very much, for me, something where it's like there's a decision that needs to be made. And are these people, that job, my own thoughts, and the way that I want to be aligning with what I have around me? Cancer obviously rules the moon. Cancer has a lot to do with our nearby environment and our body and how we are feeling. Are we feeling safe and sound? The way we, again, how we are in relationship to ourselves and how we are in relationship to the world outside of us in whatever way. Can be people, can be pets, can be animals, can be the natural world. And there is a real urge to establish those boundaries for more safety, internal safety. But again, I do think it's just, the cautionary tale here is always because the downside of Scorpio and Mars in Scorpio especially is it can be a bit too cutthroat. And sometimes Scorpio can conflate building walls with boundaries when that is not actually real safety because you're avoiding getting triggered, but that's not the point of boundaries. Again, so boundaries are what you're gonna do when those lines are crossed. And I really want to knock down that reminder inside of you this week. But I do think that's, again, it's supportive. It's a trine aspect, it's not a square where it feels like, oh, we're going against two things. No, it's a trine aspect. So it feels like the realizations are useful and we are able to make a clean cut in a good way. And then on Wednesday, October 29th, we have the first quarter moon in the sign of Aquarius, which is, building up towards the full moon that we're going to have in Taurus next week. We also have Mercury trining Neptune. And I do think the moon in Aquarius kind of helps us detach a little bit, while Mercury in Scorpio trining Neptune and Pisces helps us see through the emotional fog that is going on. Again, we are a bit in nostalgia land right now with Neptune back in Pisces, but there is a gentle intuitive tone, So just, it's this part where it's like, is it intuition? Is it trauma? Is it nostalgia? Is it actually me trying to work through something? Neptune can sometimes blur the lines with that. And Mercury is a planet that likes to see things clearly and do things clearly. So when it's combined with Neptune, it can't do its job properly, It's like you want to write the letters, but you don't even know that you need glasses, so you're trying to see something that you don't even know you could just put on glasses and see things clearly. Like you don't even know you have a blurred vision. That's kind of how Mercury Neptune together sometimes feel like. And again, let's not forget Neptune Pisces is retrograde, so it is echoes from the past. And when I say from the past, I mean from the past 14 years that are resurfacing for one last time, because Neptune has been in Pisces for a long time. And we need to, I think it's just, there needs to be a healthy dose, okay? And I do think Saturn is there as well, so I think that is kind of helpful to also ground us a bit more in reality. But Saturn is also about extremes. Like, let's not forget that. It can go either way. And Saturn can either make us like realistic, and sometimes Saturn and Pisces can even go into the realm of melancholy and depression of like the real world is too much. And then the other extreme would be, oh, I'm gonna just go in, like, shut off in my fantasy world and heck, like, screw that. Screw that. It's so funny. I saw a comment on YouTube yesterday or today, I wasn't sure, something like, we used to go to the internet to escape reality. Now we need reality to escape the internet type of thing. It does feel a bit like that. I think a lot of people, even though, it's harsher energy when Neptune and Saturn are in Aries, but I think it really brought this gust and wind of, we need to be more in reality. And I think a lot of people currently with Saturn and Neptune sitting again at the end degrees of Pisces are so fed up with the online world. And a lot of social media got introduced and exacerbated during the Neptune in Pisces era. So it was like the beginnings. A lot of dating apps were launched during the Neptune in Pisces period. So Neptune in Pisces has a lot to do with the social aspect of the media. But of course, as we know, the social part in the media is very limited. And oftentimes social media can make us feel more isolated. So people are searching for realness, for real connections. But now we are thrust back into that past, and before Neptune and Saturn move back into Pisces, we still need to face that realm once more. And I am really curious what is happening with social media. I feel like a lot of people are quitting or just fed up and don't want to post anymore, don't want to interact anymore because things feel oversaturated. You're also constantly hearing about the AI bubble that is about to burst. If that's going to happen or not, I don't know, but it is currently really up in the news. So here we have that as well, symbolically in the literal world. What we also have later on that same Wednesday, we have Mercury then entering the sign of Sagittarius and immediately opposing Uranus. So that's a lot of mental charge, a potential for sudden insight, but also overstimulation. If Neptune and Mercury together feel like a mental fog, Uranus and Mercury together feel like a lightning bolt of ideas in your head. So do try to ground yourself specifically on that day. Don't do anything hastily, any sort of decisions. Especially, guys, because we're in Mercury pre-shadow period. And Mercury is going to go back over the same degrees. So walk, write, breathe. Don't make any hasty decisions. And don't let your mind outrun your body. Okay. We also get Mars trine Saturn and Pisces that day. As you can already see, that day is the most eventful day of the week, which does, I think, offer a stabilizing undercurrent with all of this. Like feels like almost like a cosmic break, reminding us to slow down just a little bit and come back into the body. With such heavy, like Mercury, Neptune, Uranus transits, it can be a lot of mind energy, and this is really where it is important to come back to your body. And with Neptune running that whole nostalgia show right now, we can easily get caught in the realm of memory, not realizing, hey, there is a reality in front of me right now. So I do really like that Mars is trining Saturn on that day as well. It is for sure a stabilizing force. But in case you find yourself in La La Land with your mind, and you know, you're like in any sort of state that you feel like is not truly conducive, maybe triggering, maybe in the realm of dissociation, if it gets really tricky and worse, remember, you are not your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. Something is in the body, and usually what you have to do is focus on re-regulation, especially when the mind is spinning. Okay, I know it's extremely easy to get into the realm of thinking you really are your thoughts, but so often it's memories coming to the forefront that haven't been fully digested, or it's a trauma response or something. And so please focus on re-regulating yourself first. And once you actually feel yourself in your body, it's a whole new perception again. So, yes. Then on Thursday, October 30th, the energy does soften a bit. The moon moves from Aquarius into Pisces, which feels rather integrative than pushy. And then on Friday, October 31st, Halloween day, there are no major transits. You know, the moon is just in kind of in Pisces, and this is also what the energy that is following is us over the weekend. It feels dreamy, it feels mystical. I do think it's a nice tone for Halloween this time around, because at its best it can really invoke the creative energy of dressing up and kind of having fun and being in a realm that is otherworldly, which so much of Halloween actually is about. And even for people that celebrate more in the pagan traditions, like Samhain and all of that, or just honoring the people that passed away, I do think the moon being in Pisces during that weekend actually really helps to constitute and be in that realm and communicate with otherworldly spirits and all of that, if that's something you're into, okay? But to those who just want to dress up, I also think it's very ideal, super creative and nice. Yes, and then we also have on Sunday then, not on Saturday, because no major transits on Saturday, but on Sunday we do have Venus and Libra opposing Chiron and Aries. Telltale transit of old wounds around love or fairness or injustice can resurface, maybe where we have overextended ourselves for the sake of harmony and keeping the peace in relationships. And the moon also enters Aries that day as well, and I do think it gives us courage to claim self-respect without shutting down intimacy. So I do think there is a lot of nice, dare I say, healing that could be done over the weekend. So yeah, I do think overall this week is a bridge. It's quieter, it's introspective, but it is emotionally rich, and it's really preparing us for what was happening next week, which is Mars entering Sagittarius, Venus entering Scorpio, Mercury stationing retrograde, Uranus moving back into Taurus, and we'll get a Taurus full moon. So use this week to restore, to reflect, to realign before the pace quickens again, because next week there is a lot to talk about. And yeah, I also have a few exciting updates. This week, I'm going to be releasing the Decans of Scorpio video from the Decan Dance series. It's really one of my favorites, and it ties perfectly into all the themes that we've been exploring. And especially if you're somebody that has Scorpio placements, like this video is for you. Or maybe you just want to learn more about Scorpio. And if you don't know what the Decans are, some also say Decans. I prefer to say Decans, personally. But the decans are when we take a sign that is 30 degrees and we break it apart into 3 parts. So the first 10 degree, the middle 10 degree, and the last 10 degree, we get 3 segments, and they are all uniquely different. So if you have your sun at 4 degree or 16 degree or 27 degrees of Scorpio, it's gonna play out very differently in your life. And this is what we focus on in this small little series, and this video is going to be released this week, so I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. And then, but later on around this week, I'm going to be releasing horoscopes for Mars in Sagittarius, because Mars is moving into Sagittarius next week, so definitely stay tuned for those as well. They'll help you prepare for that fiery shift that is awaiting us. And if you haven't seen it yet, I just released the Venus episode from the Meet the Planet series with Aida, the Energy Witch. You can find it on my channel, and I'll also link it down in the description below. I usually link the whole playlist, Meet the Planet series, and you're also going to find it there. It's going to be the first video that shows up around Venus. And this series also, it's really aimed to understand the planets on a deeper way, so exploring the mythology, exploring the archetype, but then also really on a grounded practical level, giving you tips on how you can be in relationship to that planet, because I feel like that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with in astrology. It's always like, oh, Saturn is cursing me, or this planet is doing this thing to me. And this series really invites us to be like, what if we shift the perspective of this planet is doing something to me to what can I do for the planet? How can I be in relationship to that planet? How can I get curious about that planet? Now I know that Venus isn't necessarily the planet that people like struggle with. You know, it's usually people are putting all the blame on Saturn. Unjustifiably, in my opinion. We're in the Saturn Lovers Club here, and I'm utterly excited once I will be able to release the Saturn episode, but it's still a while because we're at Venus now, and the next episode after that that's going to get released is the Sun episode. But yes, if you have struggles with Venus, because that is real as well, or you just want to deepen the relationship with Venus, like maybe in your chart you have a difficult Venus, a struggling Venus, then this is totally for you. And again, gonna be down below. Feel free to check it out. It's really podcast style. It is also available on Spotify if you don't want to listen to it on YouTube. So yes, this is what I have for you guys this week for the astrology overview. Take care of your energy. Let the quiet work through you. And I'll see you soon this week again. First for the decans of Scorpio, and then for the Mars and Sagittarius horoscopes. Have a good one, and see you soon, guys. Bye.